Hello, Year 12. Hope you've had a great week. Today's assembly, lots of positive news and lots of well dones for your assessments this week. Good opportunity for us to reflect on what's gone well so far, and then finally some key information on Monday the 15th of June for when we are due back in school. So far, just that well done is a real positive from me. I've had very few emails from teachers this week telling me about students who haven't completed assessments. It seems those have gone well, so keep going with that this week. You've managed your workload well. Lots of students have been explaining how they make sure that they're ready at 9 o'clock to get going with those assessments and complete them as soon as possible. So it seems really positive. Do your best with those and keep communicating with your teachers, as I've always said, via class charts and email to say how you are finding that as well. So and I think it's really important that we recognise, I've put there 43 days of lockdown and school days, but it's a lot more than that really, and you've coped with that, and now we're actually getting to the point where we're doing assessments online and we're submitting those, and we're really thinking about grades, and we're thinking about how we can help you and feedback and different things. So we have done tremendously well in the last couple of weeks, so do keep up that work. I know it's difficult at times, but that communication is absolutely key, and then within that I think you have grown up massively. I'm going to talk in the next couple of slides about it's important that you reflect and think about how much you've achieved, not only in these 43 days but obviously in the past year as well. So for me, in terms of that reflection is coming from, if you think this time last year, you're just finishing your GCSE grades and planning for the GCSE exam, planning for the prom and still in school uniform to now when we're completing year 12, and think how much you've learnt this year, and you probably thought GCSEs were hard, and now the level of work you're having to do in year 12 in terms of the notes and the work on your own independently. You wouldn't have been able to do that a year ago, and you've got to reflect on that and think actually you're doing pretty well, and complete assessments at home where you would have never done that last year, writing essays, writing assessments, a whole host of pieces of work that you are doing now that you never had to do in year 11. So you have grown a tremendous amount in the last year, and you were doing really well before lockdown happened in terms of your attendance, in terms of your progress, and we've just got to keep on that and keep being positive and think about what we've achieved. And we're all thinking about university or high level apprenticeships or getting jobs in a year's time, and again that's a big step that you've been able to think about or achieve for the hard work that you've put in this year. So that reflection time, I think, is really important, and when we think about those first few weeks of how difficult and challenging lockdown was, and a lot of the conversations we have about people were talking about how difficult and challenging it is, but we've got to change that conversation. We've got to change our mindset and thinking ahead and thinking, well, yeah, it was really difficult, but we've coped with that and we've managed with that. Others better than others, and that's fine, but now it's about thinking, well, actually think how far we've come and what have you done and what have you achieved in that, and it's a case of saying we're all through it together, and now we're doing assessments, and now we're looking at feedback from teachers and how to improve, and we're going to be looking at UCAS personal statements in an email I'm going to send out later this week, and we're going to be thinking about how you can come back to school in the next couple of weeks. So you do need to reflect on that, and we've come through this process together, and it's not over, we know that, but actually it's a case of us now starting to be positive and thinking, yeah, we've achieved quite a bit in lockdown and we've got through that phase, and now we're looking forward to see what the end of term 6 can bring, and then also September. Hopefully this slide will just explain a couple of things that you would have got, information you would have got from Miss Mason to your parents, and that will come out to you as well about the plan for Monday the 15th of June. First and foremost is your safety is key. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. There are restrictions in place in terms of social distancing and what we can do and what we can't do, and I'm sure you're kind of aware that how we can create bubbles in school where we're looking at 9 students per teacher in a room, so we can keep the transmissions really low. We can't then have you in a maths class with a maths teacher and then that maths teacher or you then going into an RS lesson and then going into a chemistry lesson, because the risk of transmission is great, and your safety is absolutely the most important thing. So what we have come up with is a plan that we think is going to support you and keep you safe. And the key bit is we're going to narrate a PowerPoints will continue. You'll have one of those a week. But the big change is you're going to have a 1 hour long lesson or a tutorial or a seminar through Microsoft Teams. What that will mean is, I'm sure many of you have been on Zoom. So Microsoft Teams is, you're going to have to download that either to your phone or to your laptop using Office 365. An email will come out later on the week to give you some kind of guidance on that. And also there's going to be some protocols, some rules around that, because obviously it will be a live lesson, and your teacher, like I'm now talking to you, your teacher will be talking to, obviously 9 people can be on a screen and just going through any problems you might have, any issues from the recent assessments, covering new content, new topics, and you'll be able to ask your teacher some questions about things you don't understand, and they'll be able to go that through that information. So it will look different for different subjects, because obviously some subjects have smaller numbers, some subjects have greater numbers, but the whole point about that is you have your teacher for that hour in a week and you are safe because it's done online, so you don't have to come into school and there's no risk of transmission. So communication is going to be key. So your teachers will send out an email, and in that email there'll be an invite, and that invite will tell you when your lesson is. So your lesson your tutorial will only ever be in lesson time. So it will be between the hours of 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock on a normal school day. So if you've got criminology on, let's say on a Monday, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you will get an appointment at that time, but it's 1 hour a week, okay, where you will have that and your teachers will send that out to you. For those subjects where it's quite a small class, if it's 9 or under, where we can fit 9 people on a screen, that's quite easy to do. For those subjects where it might be bigger, what might happen is your teacher might set up 2 different tutorials for you. But the whole idea is your teacher is there in front of you on the screen and you can ask any questions, any concerns. But part of that, there is, like I said before, some rules. So that will come out through the email and you need to read those and send your consent back, and your parents need to send your consent back as well, because obviously being online, we want to make sure that you're safe and everybody using that system is safe, and that's why we're using Microsoft Teams, because obviously we feel that's the safest way rather than Zoom, just so you're aware. So communication is key, so you need to be checking your email, checking your class charts, and you shouldn't be doing work in terms of paid work during the school week when you've got a lesson time. Also, what will happen is there'll be a tutorial session from me, because I obviously want to see you and talk to you, and Mrs. Curtis is the same thing. Some of you are going to invite into school to have that meeting. Most of you will do that online, or maybe you might even prefer by the telephone, just so we can talk about UCAS, we can talk about careers, we can talk about organisation. You might have some questions about September, the end of the term, and I can just check any subject concerns. You might not feel comfortable talking to your teacher about some subject concerns, and then you can pass those to me and I can raise those with your subject teachers and get back to you. So that's all the support that we're going to put in place for you. For a small number of students, we are allowing them to come into school, to work in school, but the post-16 block at the moment is being used by Educare and being used by lower down the school. So there will be a couple of classrooms at some key points during the week where you might be able to come in and work. But the idea is if you're working from home and you're safe at home and there's no concerns or problems, then you should continue with that rather than coming into school where there's the greater risk of transmission. Any issues or concerns, give me a call, or email me. If you would like to say, if you're struggling to work at home, you think actually coming in for a few hours on a couple of days would work. But of course, what will happen is you will go into a classroom, there'll be strict social distancing measures in place, and you will have a desk, and there won't be any taught subject lessons. Obviously, as we move through the term and depending how things develop in terms of how the R number is, we can change and we can adapt things. And it's really important that you communicate with your teachers, you engage with your teachers online first of all, because we're not going to be in a position to run lessons if we haven't got that online engagement, and that's the way forward it's going to be. So lots of information there, but okay, it's one of those things that you can please contact me, contact your tutors, contact your teachers. In a way, that's the way to help you, and that's the best way that we feel that we can keep you safe. So sorry for the long message this week, but lots to celebrate. Lots to celebrate. Really well done for the first week of the assessments. We've got another week to go, and then everybody has then completed 3 or 2 assessments if they're doing 2 A levels. And really well done, and hopefully you found it useful. Please let me know how the feedback goes and if you've got any concerns. And I look forward to seeing you individually or as a pair or as a group online, just to see how things are. So really well done. Keep up the good work, and hopefully I look forward to seeing you soon.